Hello, everybody, and welcome to Just Between Us Girls. I am your host, Lady Kim Sims, and if this is your first time joining us, we say welcome. We pray that everyone enjoyed their 4th of July holiday and time off, but it is time that us J-Bugs get back to business. Many have asked the question, what is Just Between Us Girls? Just Between Us Girls is a television show, it's a podcast, it's a support group, and it's a sisterhood all rolled up into one. We believe that every girl needs a group of girlfriends, women, aunties, and nieces where they can just talk about anything and everything in a safe, non-judgmental way. And Just Between Us Girls is just that tribe. We will laugh together, learn together, and maybe sometimes even cry together. But what we will do, and what we always will do, is be honest, transparent, and respectful. So we ask that you get comfortable and get those fingers ready because we have a lot to talk about on tonight. We welcome your comments and we encourage your participation. But before we get started, you know what time it is. It's time for me to introduce you to my amazing co-host. Good evening, Miss Janice Millhouse.
Hi, everybody.
Good evening, Miss Charlotte Taylor.
Hello.
Now you will notice that we're missing one of our co-hosts on tonight, Miss Angela Davis Vernon, but it is her birthday.
Yes.
Enjoy.
Yes.
Good evening, Miss Mona Jackson. Hey, Mona. And last but not least, good evening, Miss Deanna B. Williams. All right, ladies of J-Bug, virtual co-host, let's get started. Can we talk? On tonight's episode of Just Between Us Girls, as part of our Love and Relationships series, we're talking about, are traditional marriages really a thing of the past? Wow, are traditional marriages really a thing of the past? Okay, so according to yourtango.com, media would suggest that traditional marriages is not the most popular thing anymore. But historic records show that as far back as records can go, marriage has been a valued institution in nearly every civilization. The experts all agree the institution of marriage is not going anywhere, but the definition of marriage is changing in this modern society. Reports show that nearly half of all women now live with a significant other they are not married to. And most of these couples end up not getting married. Now, that's what they're saying on the statistics, y'all. A recent article in Newsweek.com cites the Great Recession from 2007 to 2010 was the reason for the biggest changes in marriages. Many people were still trying to conform to the traditional marriage model, or they were getting divorced. So when the recession hit, we saw a shift where many couples opted to stay together rather than get divorced, and probably more for financial reasons. We saw the introduction of the parenting marriage, where couples learned how to cohabitate without the romantic expectation. We also saw the living apart together marriage, LAT, where one partner would take a job in another state and the other one would remain in the home state. Lastly, in 2010, the Supreme Court legalized same sex marriage in all US states. So we have so many layers to this topic. So let's get started. J Bugs and everybody on watching the show, my first question of tonight, if I can ever get it up, is how would you define a traditional marriage?
Well, I would say a traditional marriage is one that has, those gender roles, those predefined roles that we all talked about a couple weeks ago, where there are male responsibilities and female responsibilities. But I believe that it's more so geared towards the thing of the past with the traditional marriages where people they just accepted what their role was and then they just went ahead and dealt with their marriage. So pretty much the old school way of male, this is what you're gonna do, female, this is what you're gonna do. So men tend to the outside, women tend to the inside, rear the children. So that's my idea of like what a traditional marriage is by definition.
All right, ladies, anybody else?
Yeah, that's about the size of it. Male, female, children, picket fence, nice house in the suburbs, 2 cars, 2 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, totally agree.
Right.
So, so my next question then is, are traditional marriages a thing of the past?
I don't think traditional marriages ever will be a thing of the past.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone who gets married wants to have this one wedding day where they find the love of their life and they go off in the sunset and live their days however long, happy as can be. But that doesn't always happen. Oftentimes it doesn't happen because in our microwave society, if things don't go our way, if things, if I gotta wait for something, if I can't have it right now, then I'm out. A lot of people are so eager to throw in the towel. But if you wait, I didn't think I'd have to say about marriage tonight because I'm not married, but I have been married. And growing up, I grew up in a home where mom and dad worked together. I saw a wife supporting her husband. I saw a husband going out providing and protecting, and so I thought the model of marriage that I saw growing up was how it was in everybody's household. But I remember when I got married the first time, thinking I would not want my parents to know that this is how my husband treats me. You know what I'm saying? When things were bad, I stayed away from my family. But when I think that everybody truly wants a traditional marriage, and it's just loving and supporting one another. We each have our roles. We each got a job to do, and if we can do that job in love and patience and compassion, we can all have great traditional marriages. But people say I ain't signed up for that, but when you put your name on that marriage license, you signed up for it.
Right, right. What else, ladies?
I think that traditional marriages are moving more towards modern marriages where people have their individual preferences as to what goes on in their relationships and their marriages. And that women, I guess, since, before it was all, women really didn't have a voice. I think that more women have a voice in marriages nowadays. And I think that they are moving from those predefined gender roles, as we did discuss a couple of weeks ago, that some people are opting to choose how they define their own individual marriages. And so it's not a one size fit all marriage anymore. Right. Everyone has their own unique preferences. And then, we have blended families now. We have so many different aspects of the family and the marriage these days that people have to put their own spin on it and make it work for them.
Okay. And I totally agree with you, Charlotte. I think that, the typical, what we consider traditional is changing. And people don't want to be put inside of that box of being called traditional. People really want to, at this point, many people just want to do what works for them in their relationship, because I know that sometimes we'll look at another person's relationship or marriage and feel like, well, let me try that. And you can sometimes, you can really kind of be, running in circles, because what's working for that particular marriage and that couple is not going to probably work, because you are dealing with two different personalities, two different situations. I can think about what I considered a traditional marriage was based upon what I thought, was raised on what a marriage is. You have the male, you have a woman, and I always saw marriage as myself as, me having a career, him having a career, us both leaving and going to work and coming back. We got children that are in school. I'm going to do the cooking and, the cleaning. I had established those in my mind as what I would like to see, but having gone through that, trying to have a traditional marriage, and then I saw that it was, way outside of traditional, putting those first, trying to maintain that probably in my next marriage that I hope to be in one day. I don't think that, it's just, we have to kind of work around what we discussed a few weeks ago. What are your strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are my strengths? What are your weaknesses? What's gonna work for us to be able to get to the final destination of till death do us part. So yeah, I think that it's changing. And also I want to add that, a lot of us have not had a lot of good examples of what the traditional marriage is. I think that if we had people having healthy health, not that you're going to not have any arguments or anything, but if we saw it being handled in a healthy way, not toxic. When we see people, when you have problems, you go into therapy to work through them. We're not seeing that, when you are outside of each other's presence, y'all are bashing each other. I think that would make a difference, but people have seen the typical marriages of old not work from trying to stay traditional. And they're like, you know what? I'm not even going to try it. I'm just going to do what works for me. So yeah.
Yeah. So let me see. I'm waiting on my comments are kind of moving a little slow. So Julius Jackson says, good husband, God, husband, wife, children, serving God, love, career, education, home, traveling, memories, assets, and leaving a legacy.
Mm. Yeah.
All right. So,
But
B Hall said, "What is the definition of a traditional marriage?" So, that you guys just kind of went through that on what you thought the definition is. So, I
Mhm.
want to bring up another question. So there's this show out called The 90 Day Fiance. And Charlotte, I know that you can give us like a history on that show. I'm gonna let you give a little history and then I'll ask my question.
Oh, about 90 Day Fiance. Even though that's not my show, that
Oh,
show
it's not
is
that one?
that's not my show. But I can still talk on 90 Day Fiance because that's the
Okay.
show about the international marriages where the
Right.
people have to get like a visa and then decide if they're gonna get married within 90 days. Well,
Hmm.
first of all, I'm not even a fan of long distance relationships here in the States, so I know that me moving over in international, that's not gonna be for me. But it's it's a spin to me. It's like a spin on modern day arranged marriages where you try to hook these people up and then almost force them to get married within 90 days. And as Mona always say, you just get a representation of whoever that person is. In 90 days, I can't clearly make a decision on who I'm gonna marry. And then the thought of having to rush and think about, okay, so if I don't get married, then I'm gonna lose a visa. And to me, it's almost like a mail order bride kind of service, to be honest. But I'm not gonna get into all of that. But I'm just saying that's just my opinion on the show. I watch it for entertainment purposes because I think that these people doing all of this extra stuff to determine if they're gonna marry someone is absolutely wild and crazy. And although it's not something I would do, I'm not knocking anybody who's on the show or who wants to go on the show. I'm just saying it's not something for me, especially not the international idea of getting married and the mail order bride services.
So I want to ask the other co-hosts, what are your thoughts on that particular arranged type of marriage?
I think
It's a no for me.
yeah, I think it's hard enough to date someone you're in close proximity to because you're both coming with different mindsets. I'm going to have a female perspective always. He will always have a male perspective. And then you start bringing different cultures and all this stuff. I'm telling you, traditional, call it what you want. If a man and a woman commit to one another and they commit to stay when there's fire, commit to stay when there's water. I mean, it's just a commitment. Will you stand by your commitment?
Exactly.
Right, right. And deciding whether I want to have a commitment in the first place gonna take me more than 90 days.
Yes,
Listen,
ma'am.
you can I mean, we can date for 2 or 3 years and traditional dating, we'll meet and then I'm gonna go to your house, you come to my house, pick me up and take, and because we're not as intimate traditionally, and you can date somebody for 2-3 years and get married and be like, who is this person?
Who is this
And
person?
the evolving is not one of maturation. It's just like, will the real whoever I marry please stand up? I'm just like, are you the dude in the movie with Batman? Are you Two-Face, Four-Face, Five-Face? Pick a face,
The man
and so that I can get to know you. So yeah, 90 days definitely is not enough time. Sometimes a year is not enough time. Again, that's all a part of the courting stage, and trying to get to know a person. And there are traditional and non-traditional ways that we people, women, men, have to come up with different ways to try to get to know people. You know what I mean? Sometimes, dating is not enough. The conversation at the dinner table across, when I'm trying to impress him and he's trying to impress me, is not enough. So some people have taken non-traditional routes. They do live together first. They do, go and ask their mama, hey, there's so many things that we've come up with, how he treat his mama is how he gonna treat you. You know what I mean? We've just come up with a lot of things trying to at the end of the day, not feel as though you're wasting time and energy and finances and money, because traditionally or non-traditionally, you're investing. You're investing your heart. And so you don't want to feel as though you've wasted time. So yeah, 90 days definitely not gonna cut it. 2-3 weeks, 2-3 years ain't gonna cut it. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just don't know.
But
Right,
you know
right.
something, I agree with that. But I have seen or heard of people who, you know, have gotten married in that amount of time, and I mean they just as happy. But it to me, it's in it. It takes time, and here I go, mom. You know, having babies. You know, I have to take a little bit more time. You know, I need to see how you handle conflict, how you interact. You know, it's a process that I really need to go through, because I don't see, you know, I've seen some people on this show have children and they just be so gung ho to just bring this person that you already have a cultural divide, you know, with. You know, it's hard to just I question sometimes how you know, we can so easily just invite somebody and be like, I'm gonna establish this long term, you know, forever with you. And I have not gone through the process of getting to know, you know, what are critical areas that could, you know, be of my detriment or even to my children or things like that. And so, I mean, I love the show. I watch the show. I love
Mhm.
90 Day Fiance, but it's questionable. Just
It's
on the basis,
entertainment.
Hey,
yeah,
Yeah.
entertainment, baby.
it's
Okay.
entertainment.
So
And
Terrence,
I almost question whether the show is really real, because I'm like, this don't sound real. This
so
don't.
look, Terrence J. Leslie Sr. says, I don't care how long you've been married. It can be for 90 days to 100 years. You will never 100% really know a
Not
person.
That's true.
true.
That
Yeah.
person
Of
will
course
do
not.
something new that you have never seen before. And I have to agree. I think
I
Absolutely.
gotta get it as well.
Yes.
I think people evolve over time.
Absolutely.
You're not the
Absolutely.
same person you met 10 years, 20 years ago. And you
Absolutely.
have to be okay with the person growing and evolving. And you have to learn that person. And they're going to do some things that you're going to be like, no, wait a minute. I didn't know I was marrying that. But
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure that there's some things that they probably said about you
About
too.
yes, yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, my next question is, why does it appear that marriage is not a requirement anymore? Many are choosing to start families first and then marriage later. What do
Yeah,
you?
because because I say that marriage is not a requirement, because if I get in that, it ain't what I want, I can go. It's easier to go if we're not
Oh,
married than
man.
if we are. You know, it's
But
a
what if you've already started
easier.
this family? You've already started a family with them,
Yeah,
so
I'm
you
taking
tired.
mine. I'm taking hours and gone, and you will work out visitation and all that good stuff, but it's really a little easier to move out than to divorce. It now emotionally it's not, but legality wise, and possibly if you keep things pretty separate financially, it'll be easier. It's easier than when you're married, and I have to put and everything's in our name, and there's whether it says Mona Jackson on the paper or Julius Jackson on the paper, we married, it's ours. You know what I mean? When you're married, it's yours. I inherit his debt, he inherited my debt when we got married. I don't have to deal with all that when you're not married, and the commitment level is different. It's just different when you're not married. So yeah, that's why you don't want to get married, because the level of commitment is a lot higher
But wouldn't the
in
level
all
of
other
commitment
areas.
be just as high with bringing a child into the world with this person? Like to me, that is a to me the same level of commitment you would put in to marry them, which should be the same level of commitment that's required for you to be able to father, or I mean, to birth a child with them.
Well, the
Well, the big
commitment is to the child, it's not to me.
yes.
And when
Mm-hmm.
you're
Because to me,
married, the
it's just the
commitment is
paper.
to the commitment is
Yes.
larger. When you just when if me and my boyfriend had a child, his commitment is, to the child. It's not to me. And so that's why a lot of men oftentimes get upset because they're paying all of this child support, and their child, whom they're paying the child support for, not the me, but for the child, and they get upset because the woman on cruises and looking good, flying stuff, and the child looking, kind of iffy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the commitment is then it's to the child. It's not to me. But when you're married, it's a unit. We operating as a unit. You know what I mean? Legally as as well as emotionally. So yeah, it's a higher level. It's a higher level.
Well,
To me,
I
I think
think that it should always also be a commitment to the child as well, because a child growing up in a home needs the presence of a mother and the father.
Mhm.
They miss out on so much when they don't have either, have both of those people, access, on a daily basis. So, I mean, when a mom and dad, when a family goes to war with one another, the only casualties of that war are the children.
That's
Okay,
true.
you know what I'm saying? The children are the only casualties because, yeah, you can go back and start working your own stuff out, and you can meet somebody else, and y'all can start up. But the kid is still left there wondering what did I do that my mom and dad, they take that into thinking that their mom and dad didn't stay together because of them, something they did, something they didn't do, and that's why we have a society of people just, I don't know, people want to do their own thing. They don't want to be accountable to anything or anyone. They don't want to commit to anything or anyone. And but when they get old,
Yeah.
They
golly.
want everybody to be around.
Yeah, yeah. When people, like we talked about before in another show, understand that love is a choice and not a feeling, um, and you have to choose to be committed, choose to take your vows that you made first before God, first of all, and then to each other, very seriously, because it's not like in the movies. You know what I mean? It's just not the movies. And if people understand the reality of what marriage really is, it means good, bad. The vows are very specific. It's sickness, health, when you got money, when you don't have money. If me and you get put out, can we hang out in the car until they come get the it's just
With a blanket, okay?
yeah, it's a commit. It's true. I mean,
Yeah.
love is a commitment, and it doesn't feel good all the time. But I have to make a choice to understand that this too will pass. Feelings come and go. So if you're basing your marriage and relationship on how you feel today, that you already on the wrong foot. Because sometimes I don't feel good about me some days. You know what I mean? It's bad hair days, it's bad makeup day, skin
Okay.
day. Sometimes it just, you know what I mean? So imagine that when you have to put it, towards someone else. So, get the fairy tale out of the way and stop expecting, it to be just roses all the time, but understanding that marriage is a beautiful
Absolutely.
union
Absolutely.
set up by God Himself, who honors marriage. And I mean, you can't have a better institution than being able to be having your best friend by
Right.
your side
By your
all the time. You know,
So, ladies, here's my next question that I put up there. Didn't mean to put it up there so quickly. But does living together first help or hinder a successful marriage? What are your thoughts?
It depends on the
Hinders it, because I would say it would hinder it because you're not giving the other person anything to work for. They've already got everything. I refuse to give you all these wifely duties before you actually make me a wife. You know what I mean? And that
Now,
would hinder that process. Because us as women, we innately are nurturers, so anything that we care about, we're going to pour into, and we are going to give all of ourselves to. And so if we got this guy that, we're staying together and we doing everything for them, what's going to be the push that's going to make him say, oh, well, let me marry her? He already getting the total package deal. I can wait this thing out a little bit longer, because she love me enough. She gonna still continue to cook. She gonna still continue to do the blah blah blah. She gonna keep on doing, you know. And so yeah, it does hinder, but then I'll say this though. Some people think that it helps it, which I used to agree with that, because you know once you stay with somebody, a lot of things start coming out. You start
you
seeing
start
a
figuring
lot
out a
of
lot of
stuff,
stuff.
and it really will make you sometimes second guess whether you should be married. But however, because my morals have changed, I'm like, no, if a man can't commit, if a man doesn't love you, and this is speaking from a woman's perspective, if he doesn't love you enough to say, look, I'll wait, let me just continue to court you and date you, and I don't want you to give me your all until I put a ring on it, he ain't for you, sis.
Now,
Boom.
I have to say, I
Okay.
was out of the old school where a long time ago, I ain't gonna tell you
Long,
how
long,
long.
long.
I was of the mindset is, yeah, you need to check him out before you marry him. You get to see what he's like. If you need to just get rid of him before. But then as I got older, I have seen myself move into more of I'm a very like aggressive, ambitious person, but traditional at heart. I'm all for a traditional
Mhm.
marriage. So when my husband and I met, we opted not to live together or fornicate before we got married. Well, he is a pastor. He was trying to
Okay.
do that. That kind of would make sense. But you
Good
know
to
what I mean?
know, Pastor. Yeah.
Okay, but I think as you get older, I mean, for me, I can only speak for me. As I've gotten older, my views have kind of shifted. So for me, no, I'm with Deanna. If you can't put a ring on it, we ain't moving nowhere together. I ain't washing no clothes. I ain't cooking no meals.
That's
I ain't
it.
cooking, wait a minute, I ain't cooking no meals. No way.
Okay.
I
Oh
ain't,
Lord.
I ain't doing none of that. Okay, I need a ring. I need a commitment, and I'll wait. We'll take as long as we need to be able to get to
Exactly.
know each other to see if this is what God put together. You know what I mean? I'm
Mm-hmm.
not trying to do it on my own no more because I did it
Yes,
once
it.
before, and that
That's
didn't
it.
turn out so hot.
No.
But what else? Anybody else want to chime in? And I'm loving. Thank you, Terrence, Leslie, Senior, and Julius Jackson for chiming in. We got the men in the house tonight.
Yes,
Yeah.
we
Curious to
do.
hear what they have to say about this. Do they believe that living together first helps or hinder a successful marriage? Chime in, guys, as we continue to talk about this. So, Janice, who was getting ready to say something else? Somebody was going to say something
I
else.
wanted to add something to what Mona had said earlier.
Mhm.
A lot of times, marriages, couples get into a tight spot.
Mhm.
And rather than them putting their heads together, they separate, and I'm gonna do my thing, you do your thing. But let me tell you, a lot of stuff is built in adversity, man. I'm
Mhm.
Mm.
telling you, a lot of stuff is built. And if you have a partner who can go through some murk and mire with you, I mean,
Yes.
you go through something, it builds you
Yes.
through that stronger. And the more adversity that you come through, the more muscle you have to go through others as you
Yes.
fight.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
People
Yes.
think
Exactly.
that when they see old married couples, oh, what's the secret? What's the secret? Well, it's not that those people those older couples never went through anything. You didn't see all the hard nights when somebody would probably they both were crying themselves to sleep. You didn't
Okay.
Yes.
you didn't see when the bank account was real iffy. My coins, you didn't see that. But then when you see an older married couple where they got 50, 60, 70 years in, and you see that they're still loving on one another, kissing one another.
Yes.
Stuff didn't come easy, but
Yes.
they committed to the course. They stayed the course.
Right, right. So my next question for you ladies is, do you think that the older generation or those who believe in the traditional marriages of a man, a wife, are accepting of the changes we see in today's marriage? Do you think
I
that
believe
they're a little bit more accepting, or are they like, y'all kind of off the chain these days?
it depends. I think some of them may say, okay, y'all new people, y'all new generation, y'all just out there doing whatever you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But because they are so traditional in their own marriages and that they are, in their marriages, I don't think they're necessarily paying attention to everything that goes on in everybody else's marriage.
Oh,
I think that they know what works for them because they've been doing it for such a long time. And I think that that's what they're going by. And although they are probably looking at the new generation like, okay, I don't know how y'all do that. But I think ultimately they just working on them.
Mm-hmm.
They're just doing what works for them.
Yeah, they don't have time to be worried about what we doing, huh?
my dad had a saying: "I'm gonna take the first 6 months of the year and mind my own business. I'm gonna take that second 6 months and I'm gonna leave other people's business alone. When I get done with that, I'm good. That's a year down.
Right.
And leave other people's business alone."
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay, so my next question, guys, I got a lot of them. I'm all in different directions. So, just recently there was some pushback for Wendy Williams on her comments to Tabitha Brown about her retiring her husband. So, what do you think about marriages where the man is maybe the primary caretaker of the children and the woman is the breadwinner? Or in a situation where you have Wendy Williams, where she was a breadwinner and her husband worked for her as her manager, or Tabitha Brown, in the instance where she chose to retire her husband. What are your thoughts on those?
Well, you know what? I admire Tabitha Brown, and she
I do
has
too.
made it known publicly that she has prayed for whatever is going on in her life and in her situation. And for her to retire her husband, who was I think she's a LAPD,
Yeah.
and to want him at home and safe and out of harm's
Mhm.
way, and it works
Uh-huh.
for them, and she still recognizes him as the head of her house, I don't see any problem or any issue with
Not
that.
a
I
thing.
admire her for saying, you know what, I have this because I want to see you well. I want to see you healthy. And then he's starting a whole nonprofit. So he's out there doing and giving back and advocating for his nonprofit. I think what she did was absolutely wonderful. And that's what should be in any marriage. Whatever works for your marriage, whatever works for your situation. I don't think anybody should have an opinion as to what goes on in it. And I think it's a wonderful and beautiful thing.
It is. And in regards to Wendy Williams, well, I believe that she was trying to retire her husband too, or at least give him a good retirement benefit package because he was her manager. She pretty much controlled that. And I think that Wendy's still sour, still salty about how her marriage ended. And with her being on TV talking about other people's mess, there were days when I thought, well, when you going to tell us about your mess? And the day finally came when she couldn't escape it. But
Yeah. Right.
I think Tabitha Brown gave her a great response. Tabitha wishes her love. I wish you love.
Love.
And if you had what I have, you would understand how I feel about mine.
Jay Leslie Sr. says the difference is Tabitha have God in her marriage, and Wendy has the devil in hers.
Come on.
And Kimyata Spark, excuse me, said, I love how Tab posture wasn't a tell-off fest. She was wise in her words, and I agree.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yes.
That she did it in love.
Yes,
You know,
Right.
understanding, you may not agree with what I'm doing, but you know what? Like she said, that man supported her in her dream.
Yes. Yes.
She, he supported her.
Yes.
And it's nothing wrong. That's what marriage is about.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with her reciprocating and saying,
Yes.
you know what, you supported my dream, and now that we're here, hey, I want to free you up to do what God has called you to do.
You to do. Yes.
I love it.
I love it
And you
too.
know something? I believe that Tabitha, she's definitely setting a standard for us as Black women, because she took that onto herself. A lot of times, she changed the narrative, showing us
Yes.
that it's okay to do this. And a man should desire a woman that is willing to do the same thing that she did.
Exactly.
I
Yes.
believe that in this time of social media and everybody being able to have their opinions and speak their opinions as if they should be included. Like, we should be able to be like, oh yeah, Wendy Wright, you should definitely speak against, what she has done. Come on. If you want to look for the person that's unhappy in their marriage, let them, let the people, everybody talk at once to say how they feel about somebody else's whose marriage is actually going well. So she definitely showed her unhappiness in her marriage,
Yeah.
because I mean, I'm sure that if she was able to and her husband would accept it, if they were on, the terms that they should, I'm sure, they would have been able to accomplish the same thing. But I just love how, we expect another Black woman to come off, and just snap, but she didn't do that. And so much respect to her.
Very
I've
classy.
to Tabitha as far as her, just the way that she handled that. We don't have to, say, well, my marriage is this and your marriage ain't that. No. Because if Wendy really had love and knew love, she would not have even opened her mouth to say that, because she would have been able to identify a
Right.
loving gesture in someone else's marriage. So yeah, Tabitha,
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Anybody else chiming in? Yeah, we got a quiet group tonight. My co-hosts, I don't know where my virtual co-hosts are. They're like, Renee, I see you, but you're quiet tonight. So Kenyatta Fox says Tabitha may have possibly set the tone for the behavior of how these other young ladies should handle adversities
Yes.
coming to their marriage, especially with social media.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Now I agree with that, because we are to traditionally, women set the standard anyway. You know what I mean? And so we all know that once a woman knows how to push the button, sister, it's on the popping after that. Honey, that's that red. I'm just saying, that's the red easy button.
Hey.
I know that if I say whoop de whoop, and that's gonna set you, oh yeah, whoop de whoop is all the time. You know what I mean? I'm gonna come straight at you with the whoop de whoop. I'm gonna come toward the left with the whoop de whoop.
Hey.
You know, so I'm just saying that we have to really understand. Come on now, we have to understand that, we set the standard and we can set the tone. You know what I mean? Tabitha put Wendy and anybody else. Anybody. Look, don't come. Me, don't come for me, and mine, boo. You homesick, that would be me. And then so now that's gonna come every time I get on social media. Ain't nobody coming for Tabitha no more.
At all.
They done bless the Lord and sprinkle all over you. Ain't nobody coming for Miss Tabitha. They putting respect on that lady.
Not respect.
They don't put respect on that lady.
Our
Yes.
virtual co-host Renee said, "I'm snapping my
Hello.
fingers."
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because you know how we go get now. You come for me and mines.
Mhm.
With the Z,
You asking
it's
for
over
it.
with. We go.
Yeah.
The Vaseline and the tennis shoes in the back.
Oh, honey. I still
Yeah.
got my Vaseline in my, traditional,
Okay.
Vaseline. Yes, Lord.
Right.
Yes.
Renee said, she said, "I want love to find you, Wendy." I know that's right.
Mhm.
Because
Yes,
when you know
Lord.
what real love is about, okay,
Right, right,
you
right.
made that comment, okay?
But and one thing about it too is it's hard. I know how hard it is to make a decision when love is gone.
Mhm.
And I mean past the feeling, when the respect is gone, when
Mhm.
Wendy went through, I mean, her husband was doing the most everything.
Oh
I mean,
God.
respect was gone, definitely the love was gone. I mean, he all off with this woman and bought her. How you buy the mistress a house with our money? Huh?
And then not too far from
No,
the
like he was like, I ain't
around the
going
corner.
cross
Right. And when they would go on vacation, he would have a bungalow for the mistress.
I'm just
He on
saying.
vacation too.
Yes.
That's too much.
Woo, woo. There's a
That
lot of
is too much.
holes there. There's a lot of hurt and pain to work through.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure how. All she was doing was falling out on the set. I don't. No, it'll be more.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a
It's a
lot.
lot. It's a
And can
lot.
you imagine being in front of the cameras every day, being a public person, and having to go through that? So I have a lot of sympathy, or I guess it would be
Empathy.
Empathy.
empathy for her because I understand. I don't understand, but I can imagine that must have been really difficult.
Yeah.
But the thing is that you don't. The way to get to heal from that is not to be ugly to somebody else,
Right.
who is to have a great marriage.
Yeah,
You know,
but it was only open on one side though.
Oh, wait,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
new about the open
just a relationship to me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was an open relationship. All right, one door was
Right.
open.
One way in, one way out. No. Hole in the wall club they had going on. No.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your comments. Thank you to our virtual co-hosts. Thank you to our co-hosts and all our JBug listeners. Well, that's it for us on tonight in our show. But before we go, Deanna, tell us a little bit about our sponsor for tonight's show.
Thanks, Lady Kim. Are you looking for the perfect person to capture those special moments? Well, look no further. Introducing I Snapped You Photography, specializing in weddings, events, and portraits. Check out their Instagram page at I Snapped You. That's ISNAPDU_photos, as well as take a look at their flyer in our comments and post it in the Just Between Us Girls Facebook page. I snapped you photography, using God's gift to create God's moments. I like that.
Amen.
Amen.
Yes. That's my
Ladies, let's
bestie,
look
y'all.
at our mugs. Ladies, let's look up our mugs. Never run out of your favorite hot drink with this 15-ounce rounded corners, durable, just between us girls ceramic mug in fashionable black
Yeah.
by Evolve with Lady Kim Sims. Give it as a gift to every true coffee or tea lover, or treat yourself with this beautiful mug. Either way, you can never go wrong with this mug. You can order this and other products by Evolve with Lady Kim Sims by visiting our website at www.comeevolvewithme.com/JBUG. Please allow up to 4 weeks for production and shipping. Interested in being a guest on the show or advertising your product or service? Email us at contact@comeevolvewithme.com. Charla?
Thank you, Deanna. So we hope that everyone enjoyed our show tonight. We still have wonderful, awesome, great news, and that is that we are now live. That's right, live on both Facebook and YouTube. So check us out on our updated Just Between Us Girls YouTube channel by clicking on the link below in the comments, and I am going to paste those shortly. And also by going to our website at www.comeevolvewithme.com/JBUG and clicking on the YouTube icon at the bottom of the page. But don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button to be notified of future shows. So help us get the word out by sharing this episode on Facebook and YouTube. Mona?
All right, we've come to the segment of our show where we give all of our J-Bug listeners a thought of the day. Today's thought of the day is courtesy of Darlene S. Marriages, like a garden, take time to grow, but the harvest is rich unto those who patiently and tenderly care for the ground. Lady Kim.
You're on mute.
Well, Lady Kim is having a few technical difficulties, but what an amazing show we had on tonight. We'd like to thank you, our J-Bug listeners, for joining in on the conversation on tonight. Meet us here. Be here, your face in the place, every Sunday night at 7:30. We will have great conversation just between us girls. Good night, everybody.
Woohoo! Thank you.
All right.